Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. I don't normally start these battles paused, but as both myself and my opponent decided to go with heavy Vanguard builds, you can see we are in for a wild ride, quite literally. I've got 4 Wild Riders, 5 Dryads, a Branch Wraith, all in Vanguard along with 2 Sisters of Thorn. The only unit not in Vanguard is Orion. He will quickly be making his way to the front. As for my opponent, he's got, 6 Night Goblins in Vanguard here, the Tiefrabas, lots of Squig Hoppers, some Spider Riders as well, the Regiment of Renown Missile Cav, and 1 more unit of Wolf Rider Archers. Wurzag is the only unit not in Vanguard for him, so yeah, let's have some fun. Right off the bat, I'm going to be popping that Horn of the Wild Hunt and just immediately issuing charge orders everywhere that I can. Wild Riders all across the field. Going to be charging into some light goblins here. Unfortunately, my Dryads don't actually get charges off, but you can see Wild Riders starting to... I don't know if they actually had a charge order there, but over on this side, Wild Riders just immediately start crushing through some goblins. This unit of Dryads immediately gets surrounded by Squig Hoppers and other units, which is just a bad day for them. But right off the bat, we are able to clean up quite a few units. A big old effigy to get there, pinning down one of those units of Wild Riders, and the other unit here now getting countercharged by Moon Howlers. I do throw a Curse of Honor from the Sisters to try and support there, but unfortunately this unit and this unit of Wild Riders both probably done for. Meanwhile, over here, some nice Fanatics being unleashed. I'm going to start to path through as we were able to win this side pretty decisively with the support of the Wild Riders there, and of course Orion's Terror. I also missed it, but I got a really nice Penumbral Pendulum. I know this battle's just been absolutely crazy, but yeah, you can see I'm going to start to reform a little bit of a line here up on the hills, try and get my Dryads into somewhat of a coherent formation, reform a little bit of my Cav as well. I've got these Sisters of Thorn pressuring my opponent's Missile Cav over here, and Sisters, because of their high missile resistance and, just good stats overall, will be able to trade quite efficiently here. And we're also able to isolate Wurzag, so you can see Orion charging through, spear out, just full chub, ready to go. And we're going to start to reset for a bit of a second phase here as, again, the Dryads looking pretty good. The Tiefrabas will be able to do okay. They do some nice anti-infantry damage. Not the most weapon strength in the world, considering there are 6 chariots there, but still. You can see the Sisters of Thorn have been able to pin Wurzag, but now a Wa being popped all across the field, so extra speed and charge as he tries to support there. Likewise, the Wild Rider is going to be countercharging here. Tons of Greenskins Cav charging through on these Dryads, and then the Wild Riders kind of countercharging here, which is exactly the situation that I want. We're not going to overstay our welcome too much, though, while Wa is active. These glass cannon units especially will take a lot of unnecessary damage, so I'm going to pull back there. Meanwhile, Orion is here. Been able to get some good hits on Wurzag. Nothing too crazy yet, but at the same time, he can also start to use missiles, but nope. Instead, I'm just going to go full in on the melee, try and get some pig roast ready there for Mr. Durthu. Durthu is a big fan of rotisserie roast. Anyway, I'm getting way off track, guys. Wurzag's taking a ton of damage here, despite the Fists of Gore kind of helping him out a little bit in that duel situation. Another Horn of the Wild Hunt going to be popped there, and you can see those Wild Riders up to 100 charge bonus, so they counter-charge down the hill into these Spider Riders and Squig Hoppers and more. I'm going to throw 1 more Earthblood just to make sure they stay nice and fresh. You can see my opponent is mostly losing out here. Again, we don't want to overstay our welcome against all this Greenskins light Cav, especially with the chevrons my opponent put it into them. These Spider Riders will trade really cost effectively with all of my cavalry, so we're going to go ahead and pull away there. We do throw a Shield of Thorns. Some of my Sisters of Thorn have rallied here, which is nice, because even though they have very few in number left, I can still use their support buffs. And you can see with that Horn active, the Wild Riders get a surround and just, again, do a ton of damage to Wurzag here. Orion moves in to try and get a killing blow, but will Wurzag be able to escape? Looks like he barely screens himself through a few of those goblins there. Orion gets momentarily distracted by the Warlord's boys, and Wurzag is able to escape. So still very close at this point. I'm kind of, again, reforming my Cav a little bit here. I've only really got 1 unit of Dryads left, but thankfully the Branch Wraith as well. Up to 63 kills. He's kind of got some kills done in melee, and again, that Pendulum that I missed as well right at the start. But yeah, at this point, the Wild Riders are going to charge a nice downhill charge into these light goblins, just absolutely ransack them, and just send them to the next dimension. Meanwhile, Orion is just tanking out some damage here. Of course, Cloak of Isha does mean that he'll be pretty hard to kill without a high damage spell or attack like that. To that effect, I do need to try and get rid of Wurzag if I can. Unfortunately, Orion being bogged down in this big blob, I'm just not effectively able to pull away. So that one spear shot did make contact, and it is enough to actually rout Wurzag off. So thankfully, I won't have to deal with any other high damage type units. You know, the rest of these goblins, they can sit and beat on Orion all day with his Cloak of Isha. They really don't have high enough DPS to get through that Cloak of Isha effect, so he will be able to regenerate all that damage despite the fact he looks very low and it looks bad. It's really not too bad. Meanwhile, the Wild Riders continuing their wild ride, again, maneuvering up on the high ground and getting a good downhill charge. As much as possible, I was trying to keep my Wild Riders up on the high ground charging downhill because it does make quite a bit of a difference in terms of your impact damage and everything. And especially against units that have poison like this, you want to try and get every advantage that you can. Again, another Shield of Thorns and Horn of the Wild Hunt once again being popped, so time for another timing push. And charge beautifully downhill. Man, that's an awesome cinematic shot right there. Those Tron Riders just absolutely wrecking through. The Sisters of Thorn as well, nice green and blue together, working well in tandem. And you can see that counter charge there pretty much finished off the rest of the Spider Riders here. And if we can chase off a lot of this big blob here, that'll be great for me. Meanwhile, Orion continuing to take damage, and Wurzag deciding to run all the way out into the boonies to the edge of the map, and it looks like he's maybe going to go for a swim. I mean, he's already got his Speedo on and everything, so all he needs to do is just ditch the pig at the side and hop on in. So it looks like Wurzag's going to go do that, take a nice little refresher, and you can see as soon as he goes off the side of the field there, that is going to put a pretty big dent on the balance of power as a lot of units start to want to rout in terms of their leadership. So yep, we get a few units shattering there, and my mobile units are able to chase a ton of his off the side of the field. So what initially looked like it might be the fastest battle I've ever played actually turned into a decent 6-minute back and forth, and some very fun Vanguard shenanigans there. So always an adventure with Wood Elves versus Greenskins. This is actually a really interesting matchup just because both of these factions have pretty wild playstyles, and believe it or not, the Greenskins can do quite a bit here. There's a few different directions that you can kind of go. Doom Divers actually can be quite good in this matchup in certain circumstances, doing what my opponent did here and just going with a massive Vanguard with tons of numbers, and especially Spider Riders chevroned up are really, really nice in this matchup, specifically against Wild Riders, so I really like that here. Unfortunately for him, just the Horn of the Wild Hunt and the support buffs proving too much as this group of cav was able to pull through, including both Sisters of Thorn. Only a few models left on either of them, but again, it's enough to get their support buffs out. And the Branch Wraith, of course, as well, being very key. The fact that he has Vanguard and healing plus AoE damage makes him a really nice little hybrid melee caster character. And yeah, at this point, it's just Orion continuing to tank like he has been for quite some time. And here come the Tron Riders over the hill with that beautiful monument in the background. Oh man, this game is gorgeous. I say it quite often, but this game is absolutely gorgeous. So well played to my opponent. Super fun battle. Absolutely just out of this world. Yeah, it's always interesting. I figured something like this could potentially happen, or else I was just going to run, you know, into my instant death and just get all my units clobbered, but it ended up being a pretty fun game at the end of the day. 80 kills on the Branch Wraith, 67 for Orion. In terms of the Wild Riders here, 170 kills there, 144 there. For the two that were out on the left. The ones on the right initially got some really nice charges, but then got absolutely swamped by superior numbers of light cav. And just by weight of numbers here, you can see my opponent, you know, 4 Spider Riders, the Regiment of Renowned Wolf Riders, 3 Squig Hoppers, including Durkit Squig's Regiment of Renown, plus, you know, a Chariot and 3 units of Missile Cav. That's a lot of light cavalry to potentially bog down and just win by numbers. I mean, absolutely, if any of these units eat a charge from the Wild Riders, they'll die very quickly, as you guys saw there. But for my opponent, I definitely see what he was going for. If you can get multiple units engaged on one Wild Rider, they can do well. Unfortunately, the Night Goblin Fanatics just got absolutely ran over. They're pretty nice here. Let's go ahead and have a look. Goblins actually in this matchup, believe it or not, are really decent because of their missile block chance. So if we go ahead and have a look, most Goblins, I want to say, have a Silver Shield, which is a 55% missile block chance, compared to most Orc units. Yep, Night Goblins, regular Goblins, even the Night Goblin War Boss on foot has a 55% missile block chance. Of course, Spite of the Bad Moon gives you a bit of extra missile block chance, so you can actually go up above 100% technically, but like Orc Boys, for example, only have a 35% missile block chance, so definitely pretty rough. I do like the pick of the 2 Regiments of Renown, especially. They have really nice combat stats, trade very well with pretty much all Wood Elf infantry, except maybe like War Dancers and I guess Wilder Rangers too, but they're not a super common pick in this matchup. I don't know. I guess if the Wood Elf player really wanted to be brave, they could go with like a melee blob with Durthu or with Male Gladelord, but I think you're kind of playing into the Greenskin strengths at that point. Whereas with the charge focused build, you know, you hit and run, so you're not really sticking around to get hit by the Greenskins' high melee attack. It's kind of the reason, you don't want to just melee rush most factions into the Greenskins, is their better attack stats and weapon strength will just tear you to pieces. But certainly if you hit and run, cycle charge with some nice mobile units, then you can avoid that. Anyway, getting back to the goblins, yeah, I definitely see what my opponent was going for there. Like I said, Spider Riders, if we have a look here, up to a Silver Chevron, they're really not much. I mean, 400 to 500, still super duper cost effective for the combat stats, especially 36 melee defense on a unit of light cav for this cost is really, really nice. They have poison, they have Strider, decent enough armor, and they do have a little bit of a missile block chance as well, so I do like my opponent's build quite a bit. The only thing that I would probably change is, personally, I'd probably change out Wurzag for the Goblin Great Shaman just to get cheaper, and then maybe throw more chevrons on like the goblins in the front line, or I don't know, maybe do some different things that way. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Definitely a very fun battle, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.